Welcome back to the Milwaukee Brewers franchise here on MLB 15, the show. This is going to be episode 15, and in episode 15 we are going to be heading into the Season 2 off-season, as Season 2 has wrapped up and we'll be gearing up for Season 3. So first things first, our Milwaukee Brewers are 75 and 87 on the season, which is 5th in the NL Central, which is last place, 12 games back, and that's just not what we... Well, it was just a very bad second half of the season. It was kind of what I expected, because I didn't expect this team to be a competing team. That first half of the season where we finished in first place was really a fluke. I wasn't expecting that at all. That wasn't where I was trying to get this team. Maybe next year we could be there, but in Season 2 I was expecting more of like a slight improvement and not... or just like kind of get all people in place, and even if they don't improve, you still know that you have all your guys in place, so once they do develop then you'll be set. But that's not what happened this season, or it is what happened this season, but the first half kind of like made people think that, hey, maybe this Brewers team could do something, but in reality, they really couldn't, because they're really pretty much where I expected them to be, in last place still, but it wasn't like the worst of last places, because we're only 12 games back, and it was a pretty tight NL Central. Some of the stats to go over for our players there was Jonathan Lucroy at 305 with 23 home runs and 84 RBI. He did not lead the National League in average, unfortunately. He was like 3rd or 4th, I believe, but he was still up there in that category. Cesar Hernandez had a 285 average with 5 home runs and 45 RBI, playing third base this season. Him and Lucroy both led the team with a 371 OBP, so pretty good on-base percentage there from both of those guys. Gene Segura hit 256 with 12 bombs and 49 RBI with 43 stolen bases, and he also led the entire National League in stolen bases, and of course he led our team in stolen bases, doubles, and triples as well. As far as our pitching goes, Corey Knebel had a 2.08 ERA with 48 saves in that closer spot that he has embraced and taken off with, as he has become a very good closer in this league. Taylor Youngman is 9-13 with a 3.32. Solid ERA, not a very solid record. Willie Peralta, 15-11 with a 3.05 ERA. I'll take those stats. Brett Anderson, the new lefty we signed his first year as a Brewer, is 10-9 with a 3.01 ERA. And then out of the bullpen, you've got Kella, who is a 4-4 with a 2.50 ERA with 24 holds, and he had 70 strikeouts in 57 innings, which is pretty absurd. And now as far as the playoffs go, the Los Angeles Dodgers won this year's World Series coming out of the National League as they beat the American League representatives of the Texas Rangers. So the Dodgers have won another World Series, and just like in this game, they are always really good because they just buy everybody and they are just very good to begin with. And that's how the AI makes the Dodgers win in this game. So the Dodgers win a World Series, and the World Series MVP for them was Yasmani Grandal, their catcher. He didn't really hit too bad. He didn't really hit too well. I mean, it was only like 286, I think, with like a home run and like a couple RBI, but it's not... I don't know. I guess he had some clutch hits or something. Maybe one of them was like a walk-off or something like that. For the rest of the awards, you've got the NL MVP, which is Anthony Rizzo, who hit 312 with 47 home runs and 119 RBI for the Chicago Cubs. The NL Cy Young was Cole Hamels, who was on the Cincinnati Reds. He was 18-9 with a 2.50 ERA with 250 strikeouts on the season. Flip things over to the American League, and you've got Jose Abreu as the American League MVP from the Chicago White Sox. He hit 302 with 45 bombs and 112 RBI for that Chicago White Sox team. And then the American League Cy Young, the pitcher was Michael Pineda from the New York Yankees. He went 17-6 with a 2.20 ERA and 222 strikeouts, really leading that New York Yankees starting rotation. And before we hop into the actual off-season, like re-signing and signing people phase, we went and refired our head coach, Ron Renicky, because, well, he just didn't get the job done, and I think to start something over here, get a new management in there, and just start kind of, get our fresh start, and hopefully our new direction of Brewers baseball, and that direction is winning. But We fired Ron Renicky, and we hired Mike Babcock's distant cousin of Kurt Babcock, who's going to be taking over as the head coach or the manager here in Milwaukee. Now, the two main re-signings that we did was Justin Wilson. We brought back him for 3 years to a $2.9 million contract per year. So Justin Wilson, he's going to be back in the bullpen as a strong lefty. Joe Villanueva, the stud first baseman who raked in AAA and then was also a stud in the majors, we signed him to a 6-year, $1.9 million deal. I figured he's going to be a stud for years to come, so why not try to get him locked up long-term for a cheap contract instead of waiting for him to really turn into like a superstar and then have to give him like $30 million a year? So that's what I did. And then we also decided to let Chris Davis walk. He just really wasn't getting it done in that left field spot. I mean, his bare stats, like his actual attributes were pretty good, but I mean, he just wasn't performing in 2014, which was not a year we had in this. He hit 224 in real life, 222 home runs, 69 RBI, and he's just gone down since then. He hit 243 the following year with 18 home runs, 60 RBI, not too much different. But then this year, he hit 219 with 18 home run and 54 RBI, so that's just not very good, and I was tired of him hitting like 290 OBP as well, so I figured we could probably get somebody to replace him out there in left field and just get somebody who will perform better, like a lower overall guy, or we could go out and sign somebody like Brett Phillips, proved he can hit in the majors. Maybe Mason Williams will finally be ready to rake at the big league level. And then when we went into free agency, the first thing we did was we signed a couple of relievers. The first one is Luke Hochshaver from the Kansas City Royals. I believe he was on previously. He was a 1-year, $2.7 million deal. We also signed former New York Met Bobby Parnell to a 1-year, $2.8 million deal. Just some 1-year, just kind of like, just take the place there in the bullpen, since we let a couple guys walk, like Kinsler and Blazek and Will Smith and those guys. So, Hochshaver and Parnell are taking those places. We also went out and signed a big stud starter to be the top of our rotation. Steven Strasburg was available in this free agent class, but I did not want to wipe out like all of my budget trying to sign Steven Strasburg. So what I did instead was I went and signed Chris Medlin to a 2-year contract, $13.5 million per year. So Chris Medlin is going to be one of our starting pitchers, most likely our number 1 starter for a couple years. And then one of the minor signings we did was for some depth in the outfield. We signed speedster / second baseman who can play the outfield / second base, Eric Young Jr., to a 1-year, like $3 million deal, just to be a depth guy in the outfield. He's going to steal some bases, probably play a little bit left field, probably play a little center, probably play a little second as well. He might be in the minors to start out, he might be in the majors, not really sure. All I know is that Eric Young Jr. is on this team now. And then we also went out and signed a pretty key guy to add to our bullpen in Junichi Tazawa from the Boston Red Sox. They decided not to re-sign him, and we picked up on that opportunity. We picked up Junichi Tazawa, so looks like our setup guys are going to be Tazawa and Kella, and then the closer will be Knievel, and then Wilson could be a middle reliever, or we could have Wilson and Kella as 2 right-handed relievers, or Kella as a middle reliever. We still need to figure that out, but we are going to have a pretty stacked bullpen and then a pretty solid rotation as well, so hopefully pitching can carry our young lineup to the playoffs this year. And by far the most disappointing thing to happen to this Brewers team this offseason was losing Gene Segura, because he decided to take less money and go to the San Diego Padres. So Gene Segura, the guy who led the National League in stolen bases, was our key leadoff guy, just an all-around great player for us. I was willing to give him a huge contract, and then he just decided to go to the Padres. So Gene Segura is not a Milwaukee Brewer. Because as you can see, going past your screen right now is going to be our roster for this year, all the starters, all the relievers, all the catchers, all the closers, all the first basemen, and so on and so on. Because as with that being said, that pretty much wraps things up here for this Brewers offseason video of Season 2, heading into Season 3. I've been your host, Jersey Born, and I'm saying goodbye.
Today is gonna be the day that they're gonna throw it back to you. By now you should have somehow realized what you gotta do. I don't believe that anybody feels the way I do about you now. Backbeat, the word is on the street that the fire in your heart